What's the matter, Chuffs? What have you got to show me? What's going on? Gone all silent. Yeah, all right. I'm looking. What is there? Come on, what's your story? Show it to me. What do we got? Nothing down there. What's the matter? Not seeing anything here either. Like I know you had a snake bailed up over in the wood, but what's this alarm for? Oh, there we go. Look at that. See that there? Ooh, scared him. When the Chuffs call snake, you have to believe them. Just because I might not know where they are, doesn't mean the birds aren't onto it. Which way did you run? You want to sit down underneath me, do you? Whatever. Thank you, ladies. A juvenile red belly black. Should be fine. But good to know it's there. This morning I was playing around with the new toy, you see. Actually blowing some leaves away from the back of the hut. And the snakes got bailed up over there on the other side of the tripod with the sprinkler on it, while I was roaring around here with a 500 watt electric leaf blower, which in 15 minutes left 4 bars of battery being 4 bars of battery. So Chrissy's all very happy. The snake's been presumably dislocated from around about there when I've been blowing the leaves away. Gone back up there, hide from the man with a loud electric machine, and then come back to go presumably where it's been camping underneath the hut, looking for mice or antechinus. So, fair warning, I'm going to make a video pretty soon on what I'm learning with the logbooks on my new toys, because if you haven't got a logbook, you don't know what's going on, do you? Just like if you haven't got friendly local neighbourhood chuffs, you haven't got a snake alarm, have you? Balls on at the YouTube as we await the forecast heat wave. It's only 28 degrees at the moment. I think we're going to spend a few days up around 33 or 35. Alice Springs is supposed to have 41 today, Celsius that is. Too bloody hot for my liking. But, you know, in 1997 I did burn 2,000 litres of refined fossil fuel in my motor car and in my power tools, which is why I'm in the process of spending $28,000 or $30,000 decarbonising so I can go to town on an electric solar charged motorcycle, and I can use an electric leaf blower for firefighting, and I can use an electric brush cutter for reducing bushfire fuel hazard, and an electric chainsaw for reducing bushfire fuel hazard and cutting firewood. Because you have to be the change you want to see. Yeah? And it turns out it's a really stupid idea to look at an electric machine and say, oh, but it can't do blah, 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 blah. Who gives a shit what it can't do? I'm interested in what it can do. And believe it or not, I know this probably should be saved for a different video, but I'm in a garrulous mood. It turns out that when you go to buy a rather large, 107 mile per hour wind speed, 11 cubic metres per minute electric brush cutter or electric leaf blower, that's as big as you can get them unless you need a backpack for the battery or a backpack mounted thing. If you go to buy a petrol powered leaf blower that size, it costs the same amount of money. The battery, like that battery that's in there, it's $449 list price minus 8% discount for $423. I paid $465 for it. I'd say I got about a $30 discount. All a bit complicated because the discount kicks in before the GST is calculated. It's damn close to $500 for the battery. Now, at the moment, two-stroke fuel where I live, if you allow $2.10 per litre for the fuel, and I think it's 38 cents or 37 cents for the two-stroke oil to put in with the fuel, you're up around $2.50 per litre. In a year, I have been using 150 litres of two-stroke fuel, but these things are so pleasant to use, I'm probably going to be doing closer to 200 hours instead of 150 hours. So that would be 200 litres, which is $240 or something. No, $440, yeah? It's pretty similar. What I might as well say is that at my expected rate of operation, you can buy a petrol-powered brush cutter or an electric-powered brush cutter for about the same money. They're about $1,000. And you can go home and you can feed petrol at a litre per hour and $2.50 per litre into your brush cutter, or you can buy a $500 battery. And with 3 machines and 3 batteries and 200 hours a year, I'm figuring that it's a year to pay off 1 battery in not having to buy petrol. 3 years down the track, I expect all 3 batteries to be in pretty good shape because each one of them's only been doing a little bit of work and I'm cycling them through and I'm keeping logbooks on them. So I might maybe get 6 or 8 or maybe even 10 years out of those batteries. So unless you really like developing Raynaud's syndrome from the 10 to 15,000 revs per minute vibration of the tiny little two-strokes screaming under your armpit, as they shake, the vibration damages the blood vessels around the nerves which tell your capillaries how wide to open up or close down. So you lose the ability to regulate blood flow in your extremities, particularly your fingertips. If you spend too much time in cold weather hanging onto something that vibrates really hard. And I got 1,000 hours on 3 different brush cutters, and I've owned 5 chainsaws. And one of them's got 400 hours on it, and I used to use it for milling, like full throttle, big chainsaw, big long bar, long chain, dragging it backwards through a log 57 bloody times. So, yeah, any temperatures below about 13 degrees and I need gloves. And when I hit my fingers with a hammer while it's cold, while I'm wearing gloves, that can take months to recover from. It was time, I needed to get out of petrol. for all kinds of reasons. The vibration of the petrol engines was causing me to lose the ability to feel with my fingertips. I can't morally, spiritually, or ethically justify burning any more petrol than I absolutely have to do. And I wasn't rich enough to make the change. But I've come into a small inheritance, and the plan is to spend it all before inflation and or global economic collapse makes money go out of fashion. So the idea is to turn the money into hardware that you can use when you can't use any money because nobody wants it. And it's not going to take much. You have a look at the crap that's going on in the Middle East. I take a very hardline view of what's going on in the Middle East. On the one side, you've got a bunch of Jewish people who say that they've got a great faith in a God theory which teaches thou shalt not kill. It teaches thou shalt not covet or envy anybody else's possession. So that thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's land, thy neighbour's ass, thy neighbour's wife, you know. And it says thou shalt not bear false witness. You can't tell lies. So you can't go out there and tell a self-serving, self-seeking lie to cover the fact that you want to go and bop someone on the head and steal their land because you'd like to live there because it's a good bit of land and you don't think they're a good enough person to live there. All of that is in the Old Testament, the Torah, the Ten Commandments that Moses brought down from the mountain. All of that lines up with pretty much every major God theory on the planet. I mean, Deuteronomy said charging interest on loans or paying interest on loans is forbidden because God said so. It ruins the land. Hammurabi in Babylon, the bloke who wrote the first architectural code, he said every 7 years you have to wipe all debts. Anybody who hasn't paid their debt off at the end of 7 years, forget it. Have you ever tried to get in the bank to do that these days? Or a finance company? Or a loan shark? And it's a matter of record that in the Talmud, which is sort of like the political interpretation by generations of tribal elders of what it says in the Torah or the Old Testament. In the Talmud, it says, well, okay, Jews will not charge interest to other Jews when they lend them money. They'll only lend them money when they think it's a good idea and it doesn't matter to them because they've got enough spare money they can lend it. And if the venture goes bankrupt, well, who cares? It was spare money anyway. But when they lend money to non-Jews, to Gentiles, to what they call the Goyim, well, they pay through the nose. They have to rent the money that they're borrowing. They have to pay interest because they're not Jews, they're not brothers. So 2,000 years ago, in accordance with the prophecy of John the Baptist and all kind of other people, Joshua ben David shows up and he says, all men are brothers. And he throws the money lenders who are charging interest to lend money so people could buy animals and sacrifice them at the Temple of Solomon, because at that time there was a Jewish presence in Jerusalem. It was never the Jewish homeland. There's no archaeological evidence that the Jews ever began in Israel. They've got an ancestral tribal grandmother story where, like God promised this, that, or the other tribal elder that they had a homeland, and they wandered around and they finished up, couldn't be bothered walking any further, and they were on the coast of the Red Sea, and they stayed there. And it's a place where three different religions are all offshoots of the same religion. They all claim it as their holy land. And they've been arguing about it ever since, even though they all follow the same religion. The religion says thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not be an arsehole, basically. Thou shalt not be an arsehole. It's what all the religions say. And all these people, they all say their God theory is so fucking great. Oh, my God theory is so good. You know, not one of them would have the balls to do what you just saw me do at the start of a movie. Oh, the local chuffs say there's a snake. Go and have a look for the snake. There, it'll be fine. It'll be cool because the snake's part of the same creator that I'm part of and the chuff's part of. So all it has to be is the chuffs pick up on the snake being here and they go and tell the dopey old human because they don't want me to frighten the snake because that snake can kill me. Red belly blacks are very, very deadly, but they're very laid back and they don't want to have a fight. They're quite happy to go away and eat a mouse or a rat. I feed the chuffs. They think I might want to eat the snake. They've shared this land for at least 40,000 years with people who ate snakes. That's why the snake's so fucking terrified of me, because I'm a human. I'm a two legs. People eat snakes. Snakes don't eat people. You reckon you could find a bloody Zionist in Tel Aviv who'd have the balls to walk up and look for a snake barefoot when they know there's a snake going to be there? Like I knew there was going to be a snake here somewhere. I just had to find where it was so I could show it to you. No, they haven't actually got the courage of their convictions. They become people of little faith who beat their chest, you know, like the empty vessel makes the most sound. The more, my father used to say, the closer they sit to the front of the church, the more you have to watch them. I thought he was talking about the people in the front pews, you know, like the rich people who spend their whole bloody week making money on every deal they do, and then they go and they smarmy, smile at everybody, and oh yes, isn't it lovely in the church? Years and years and years later, I wondered whether maybe he was talking about the sky pilot, the Bible basher, you know, the one out there on pounding on the pulpit. Maybe the old man was too polite to say, you got to watch out for the priests fucking the choir boy. So let's just apply that to the idea of having faith. You know, there's a psalm that runs something like, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And it's not because I'm the meanest son of a bitch in the valley, it's because I've got a God theory who's fucking competent and benevolent, as well as omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. If there's some arsehole who really wants to fucking kill me, if I've got no options which are available to me to choose, which will lead me closer to the light, if all of my options are going to lead me down and some arsehole wants to kill me, yeah, they'll probably get away with it. Or maybe I'll fuck it up on the roads or something. I'll drop a tree on me head. Wake up dead in the morning after a heart attack in the middle of the night. If my God theory wants me to be dead, there's fuck all I can do about it. If I really want somebody to shoot me in the back of the head while I'm wiping my ass in the morning, I should fantasize about having a sniper rifle and I'd go out of my way to acquire one and practice with it. If I want someone to shoot me in the back of the head, do unto others as you want them to do unto you, all I've got to do is go and practice to shoot some other prick in the back of the head. It's really simple. It's a shoot or get off the pot style of God theory. If I want my God theory to make sure that any arsehole who's got designs on being nasty to me sets out to get to me, to be nasty to me, I'm not going to keep a weapon. I'm not going to sit around waiting for them and looking, oh, are they coming for me now? Are they coming for me? Oh, what are they going to do? No, fuck them. I'm going to get on with my life. I'm going to be me. And I'm going to trust my God theory to make sure that fucking idiot runs off the road and hits a tree on the way to come and be nasty to me. It's really simple. If anybody on the planet deserves to be dead, my God theory would make sure they actually already are fucking dead. Someone once asked me whether I was fantasizing about killing my wife back in the torrid days, 30 years ago. something like that. And I didn't want to tell a lie and I didn't want to answer the question. Finally, eventually, I said, well, look, the idea did occur to me at one point, but it wasn't to actually kill the lady, because if she needed to be dead, then she'd be dead. You know, my creator God theory is not fucking incompetent. Nobody who deserves to die is still alive. And because I come to that conclusion, the thought went no further. And then the person said, oh, but you're an arsehole for even considering the idea, and, you know, how dare you speak of it? And I'm, well, you know, you've just spent 3 days asking me the fucking that same question again, because you could sense I was holding something back. And yeah, but that's you know, the whole point of it. Yes, I once upon a time thought about killing someone who was giving me the shits big time, and I couldn't see what good they could possibly do by breathing in and out anymore. But I'm not the God theory. Judge not thy fellow human, lest thine own heart or soul be weighed in the balance against the feather of truth and found to be wanting. Egyptian Book of the Dead, you know, like 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Joshua ben David, Jesus the Christ, when he was making his Sermon on the Mount, he plagiarised that speech. He gave the first line, the opening line, judge not thy fellow man. Didn't say human, said man, because, you know, they were all fucking male chauvinist pricks back then. And everybody expected it, so they lived up to the expectation. Now you look at the Middle East. 12,000 years ago in Turkey, the Broadacre death cult of harvest everythingism started. 6,000 years ago, in Ukraine, the Yamnayans appeared. Warlike, tall horse milk drinkers. And my mother's boyfriend, my pseudo stepfather or de facto stepfather, he grew up running a farm. I think his father died when he was pretty young, and part of the deal was that he had a team of horses and he had to keep these horses going. And when I knew him, he never had a horse on his property, not once, not ever. And his comment was, if you've got a horse on your land, you are living in a drought. Because horses are like a rabbit that weighs 3/4 of a ton and it's got hard feet. Not a cloven hoof. Jews can eat horses. But they're big and they're heavy and they eat a lot and they've got a very inefficient digestive system, so they need vast quantities of pasture. So these Yamnayans, about once every generation, their horses were hungry, so they had to go out and conquer their neighbour's pastoral land. And when they got there, they had a habit of killing every man and enslaving and or marrying all of the women. And they come out of Ukraine, and it took them 1,000 years. 1,000 years. From 6,000 years ago to 5,000 years ago. And when they had gone as far as they could go for a while, they were on the Spanish and the Portuguese Atlantic coast. They were on the Chinese and Siberian Pacific coast. They were down on the bottom of Eurasia and India, and they were up at the north end of Norway. They arrived on the shores of Britain, and all work on Stonehenge ceased. All work on Stonehenge just stopped. And 100 years later, when the archaeologists go and they look at the bodies in the cemeteries in the British Islands, 100 years after work stopped on Stonehenge, and it stopped on Stonehenge when the Yamnayans got there, all of a sudden there was no British Y chromosomes going into any of the burials because the Yamnayans killed every British man. So when Captain Cook came here to Australia and shot Guigal in 1770, that was when the Yamnayans arrived on Australia, apart from Dirk Hartog and William Dampier. They sort of showed up, had a look and pissed off. It was beyond them. But Jimmy the cook, he shot Guigle, stole his shield, stole his spears, claimed the whole bloody place for the English king, and then pissed off. Unhappily, he came out here again and he got eaten by the natives. Not of Australia, not of Australia. I think it was in Hawaii. So, yeah, you get what you deserve. Karma in the end, you know. Infinitely fractal karmic feedback loops within the cosmic scoreboard effect. So, you look at all these silly mad bastards in the Middle East and Ukraine, you know, like where the Yamnayans kicked off. And that fucking dickheads in Turkey. Every one of them who owns a weapon which they keep for their own self-defense, what they're saying to their creator God theory is they actually believe their God theory is powerless and incompetent and unable to protect them from every evil thing that they can imagine, of which to be frightened. And it's a funny word, evil, because it's live written backwards. And you get into theories of magic, and one of the simplest forms of magic is to just fucking say the word backwards. Yeah, evil is live. Efil is life. There's a mad prick in America. He started with antinatalism, which regards live human birth as having negative value because in order to end suffering on planet Earth, there should be no humans capable of suffering, capable of experiencing suffering. He took that and he thought about it until the idea went mouldy and festered in his mind, and he came out with the idea of Efilism. And the Efilists, which is life written backwards, very simple, primitive magic, spell casting. That's what spelling is. Spell casting. It's a contraction. He got a viral meme going worldwide where he got all these depressed people, you know, like subclinically suicidally depressed people. Hell of a lot of them gender confused, same sex attracted, more depressed and gender confused than same sex attracted, I think. I don't know. I observed them for a while. Anyway, he got them all discussing the idea that if anybody possessed a big red button, which, if pressed, could end all life in the universe in order to prevent a bacteria from ever evolving to become a sentient, sapient being which could experience suffering, he got all these fucking miserable dickheads to debate the idea that they would have a moral responsibility to push that button to end all suffering in the universe. Yeah. Oh, ye of little faith. I would rather put my faith in the idea that the creator of the universe is not a fuckwit, and the idea is to be nice to each other. Survival of the fittest was not wrong, right? But, you know, Charlie Darwin married his first cousin, you know, and inbred like 9 children or something. Survival of the fittest is not wrong, but the fittest is not the nastiest. It's not the strongest, the biggest, the ugliest, or the most deadly. The fittest for survival is the most cooperative and friendly. If you've got spare food, store it in your neighbour's belly. And when they got some spare food, they'll put that in your guts. Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. If the Pope in Rome had the tiniest, weeniest skerrick of faith in his fucking God theory, he would not sleep with an armed guard outside his bedroom door and another one outside the front gate of the Vatican. If King Chuckles deterred of Australia, if he actually believed in any of the crap that his professors place his faith in, because he's the head of the bloody Church of England, he's the equivalent of the Pope in Rome as far as the British Empire is concerned. If he thought any of that was real, why the fuck is he Commander-in-Chief of the British Armed Forces? He's got 5 fucking nuclear-laden Trident submarines with MIRV warheads. So he can keep one of them patrolling the ocean, lurking, ready to fucking smack anybody in the head who he thinks might be wanting to smack him. Military intelligence is found in the psychiatric textbook under paranoia. Paranoia is a psychiatric medical condition characterized by ideas of reference. Oh, they're talking about me. They're thinking about me. It's all about me, 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 me. Oh, that ad on the TV's talking just to me. It's because the satellites in the sky are fucking programming me from the CIA. It's all me, 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 me. Ideas of reference. Delusions of grandeur. I'm fated to lead my nation in the Second World War, said Adolf Hitler and Winston Churchill. Delusions of grandeur. In some cases, it's fucking delusions of adequacy. You know, like Adolf thought he could take on the bloody USSR. Delusions of adequacy. But the textbook says delusions of grandeur. Persecution fantasies. Right? The person who subscribes to military intelligence looks out his window and he sees his next door neighbour getting out of the car and he's carrying a 22 caliber P rifle. Oh shit. That thing's dangerous at a mile. He lives only 75 metres away. What if he gets the craps and he has a fucking temper tantrum and he picks that up and he comes over here to shoot me with it? And that sort of kind of indicates a bit of a guilty conscience. What's that military intelligence analyst done to make that fellow want to do that? Doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about do they want to do it if you're a military intelligence analyst. It's only what could they do if they wanted to. So the military intelligence analyst looks at his across the road neighbour's 22 caliber P rifle and he hot foots it down to the gun shop and he buys himself a short magazine Lee Enfield 303 or a war surplus Mauser or some other fucking great big gun in the third of an inch caliber, so nearly twice the size of the 22 and dangerous at 5 miles so I can outrange him. That's the epitome of military intelligence. You respond to whatever threat you can imagine to be frightened of, and you build your response into hardware so you can trigger the military intelligence analyst on the other side of the fucking border to try and respond to whatever threat you're trying to respond to. When Ronald Reagan became the president of the excited status of Norte Americano, they took him to Cheyenne Mountain and he watched NORAD's war plan. And when he realised that there was no actual ability to stop the ICBMs coming in across the North Pole, he talked to a few fucking lunatics. Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle were 2 of the lunatics. They're both science fiction writers. Won Nebula Awards for the flowery bullshit they used to write. They went and talked to him and they sold him on the idea that you could have a hydrogen bomb in space surrounded by lenses which could focus the wavefront of radiation coming out of the hydrogen bomb going off into laser beams which you could simultaneously target at the rising cloud of ICBMs coming up out of the USSR, and you could shoot them down while they were still in the boost phase. So Ronnie Reagan said, what a fucking great idea. Let's call that the Strategic Defence Initiative. We'll call it Star Wars in the public marketing jism, because there was a movie that just come out by that name shortly before. And the United Soviet Socialist Republics were spending something like 45% of their GDP on the military budget to try and respond to their perception of the threat posed by NATO, which surrounded them on all sides of the compass. If you have a look at the map, looking down onto the USSR. And they collapsed because they were trying to employ military intelligence to respond to Ronald Reagan's statement that he was going to shoot down their missiles, so they decided to saturate his defences by building more missiles. And everything that Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle told him, as backed up by Edward Teller, the fucking lunatic who invented the hydrogen bomb, it was all bullshit. They never got any of the technology to work. None of it. Not a single fucking bit of it. And the USSR went broke. It's why Putin has the shits with the excited status of Norte Americano, because he was a KGB colonel running half of Poland, and he thought he knew what he was doing, and all of a sudden the society that he'd been raised and trained and educated and prepared to serve and defend just fucking melted away under his feet. He's deeply got the shits with America. He's going to do whatever he can to pull them down. And once again, it's all infinitely fractal feedback loops, karmic feedback loops within the cosmic scoreboard effect. And Putin, it's really funny. If you watch the way that he walks, he never lets his right hand get any more than about 3 inches from his right pocket, because that's where he's got his pistol. And he's a trained KGB agent. He's been trained to walk with his hand always within about half a second's reach of his pistol, so he can be firing within 1 second. He doesn't swing his right arm when he walks. His left arm swings, right, in opposition to his right leg. His right foot moves. Sorry, his left foot moves, but his right arm hovers at his hip. Paranoia. Military intelligence. As far as I can see, any universal creator God theory that's worth a pinch of shit to the compost heap, let alone running all of evolution and making a fucking biosphere that's self-sustaining and capable of supporting human life, civilization and culture. Any universal creator God theory capable of all that shit is going to look at any fucking hypocritical, blasphemous, apostatic dickhead who thinks they need to polish a gun or sharpen a knife and keep it close at hand so that they can defend themselves for whatever their God theory can't deal with. Well, there's an earthquake coming. I better go out and fucking stab that. Oh shit, here comes a bushfire. Maybe I can shoot it. Oh, ye of little faith. Everything they do proves what a fucking hypocrite they are. What a blasphemous apostate they are. They say they've got faith, and they behaviourally do the fucking opposite. It's like when the church pays the insurance policy to cover the roof when a lightning strikes the steeple. Where's their faith in their God theory at that point? And then, when they buy another insurance policy to pay the legal fees and the damages when the priest fucks the choir boy and gets caught by the police, where is the church's fucking faith in their God theory at that point? What's going to go on in this shit fight in the Middle East? At some point, yeah, they're going to fight over the oil fields and it'll switch off the petrol tap and the whole fucking world's going to have big problems. Here in Oz, 47 shiploads per week of refined transport fuel. 47 boatloads a week. Australia has no merchant fleet. We have no refineries. We shut them all down because it was more efficient to buy the shit from Singapore or Venezuela or Qatar. And surprise, sucker, Venezuela's on the other side of the Panama Canal, and global warming has stopped raining on Central America, and therefore the freshwater lake that supplies the Panama Canal is running fucking dry, and they've just reduced the number of vessels going through the Panama Canal to 18 per day each way. You want to go from Venezuela to anywhere west, you got to go around Cape Horn. Good luck with that in your oil tanker with global warming's increasing intensity and increasing frequency of record-breaking weather events. And how big's the storm going to be in the Straits of Magellan? You silly pricks. Meanwhile, every fucking Arab in the Middle East and every Jew in the Middle East and half the fucking Christians in the world want to have a shit fight in the Middle East, which is kind of making the Ukrainians feel boo-hoo sob-sobby, because they were quite used to the idea that they were going to soak up all of the military armaments spare capacity of everybody in NATO and probably everybody in ANZUS as well. And all of a sudden, holy fuck, Israel might want it. And the Americans think the Taiwanese might need to be propping up. Australia's already had a couple of divers get their hearing fucked up by the Chinaman sonar, so therefore that same boat's been going backwards and forwards, up and down the Strait of Taiwan, trying to give the Chinaman the shits. Just our biggest international trading partner, that's all, no big deal. Oh, they have little faith. They don't fucking listen to me. I like to think that I know what's going on, and you might have a fair idea of what's going on in your life as seen through your eyes, lit by your lights of all of your learnings and experiences and observations. And everybody is the same. We live in a relativistic universe. Nobody sees anything the same as anybody else. I'm really hoping I can live long enough to see what fucking turns out in the end. After the oil gets switched off at the tap, hence the investment in solar electric shit, so I can live a bit longer and see what happens. And after Greenland and the West Antarctic Doomsday Glacier both go plop splash, because it's kind of more or less expected sometime between 2025 and 2027. Nobody really thinks it's going to be as far out as 2030, let alone 2035. So that's how long it's going to be before sea level's coming up 6 to 18 metres. And at that point, all these fucking idiots fighting over who gets to live in Palestine, they're going to be in a scuba camp, a scuba park. Right? You put 18 metres of water on top of where the sea level is, how much of Palestine is going to be left? How much of Israel is going to be left? I'd like to say 2 parts of 3/10 of sweet fuck all. So they're inflicting all that suffering for no reason. They're wasting all that productive manufacturing capacity, all that energy, all that pollution, all those emissions on killing people who are probably going to be fucking wiped out by global warming anyway. It's completely wasted time, and all they're doing is magnifying the amount of misery and suffering that humanity is experiencing. They're making Gary Mosher and the fucking F-list look pretty clever. And when you look at what Israel has done since Europe took the Jews that Germany failed to kill from 1933 to 1945, and they dumped them in British mandated Palestine and then supplied them with weapons to beat off every Arab in the world who wanted to complain about it. It's remarkable to me that so few people can see the futility of what so many people are struggling towards. It's like, I'm not stupid, you're not stupid, but we're surrounded by 8 billion complete fucking morons. And their only actual game plan is to continue to grow the population in order to increase consumer demand so that they can grow the economy and achieve greater throughput next year so they can make a bigger profit to have larger dividends to pay to the shareholders. Shareholders in limited liability or no liability public companies, which were invented by the Dutch dodo eaters on their way to steal all the nutmeg trees in the world, because they wanted people to be able to profit from investing in a piratical mercenary enterprise of brigandage without being personally liable for any losses incurred by the venture. So put your $100,000 into shares, and if stealing somebody else's nutmeg trees by fucking invading and occupying their island, if that works out and the company makes money, you get a share of the profits. And if the government comes after the company for breaking the law and doing all sorts of horrible things, or if the company fails to make money, none of the company's creditors can come after your assets. The only assets the company has is the invested capital put into it. So it isolates the selfish, greedy fucking assholes who want to make a profit by destroying somebody else's lifestyle from the consequences of what they want to do. And the richer they get, the more fucking self-righteous they feel. I got to say, if I was the creator God theory of the whole fucking universe, I would be getting ready to cull most of the 8 billion of us. And I'm fucking 62 and I got cured of cancer by bloody coal-fired electric-powered radiotherapy last year. And God knows what goes into producing cisplatin. So I'm on badly out there in the hypocrite camp. Can't do much about it. But at least I've progressed to the point where I've got an electric motorcycle and electric power tools, and the plan is to have them all solar powered. The power tools are solar powered, and I'm not riding the motorbike until I get the solar gear to recharge the motorbike, because I don't want to be a hypocritical, lying fucking scumbag. Not anymore. I was raised on the idea that, yeah, well, you know, like you're only burning a little bit of petrol, you're only a little bit of the problem, doesn't matter what you do, because there's all these other cunts who are worse. You know, like there's the US Department of Defence, which is the largest single organisation emitter of fossil carbon to the atmosphere on the planet. Well, whatever they're doing what they're doing, what does it matter what I do? Yeah, well, fuck you. And fuck the whores you rode in on too. It matters what I do, because if everybody fucking tried as hard as I'm trying to not fuck up, we wouldn't be in this shithouse situation. As a mate of mine said, yeah, good on you for playing the most elegant game of deck chairs on the Titanic that you can think of, because if enough of us shifted enough fucking deck chairs, maybe not everybody has to die. Maybe. But when the COP conference happens in fucking Qatar, and the chairman of the conference is trying to do fucking oil deals on the sideline every bloody day, because, oh, he's a fucking engineering scientist and he can't see how the economy can function without fossil fuels. So who fucking cares about the science about global warming? The economy needs the oil, and he's going to make money by selling the oil that's under the sands, where his camel fuckers live, all his relatives. The reason it's a fucking desert is because his ancestors turned it into a desert. You know? Go and have a look between the Tigris and the Euphrates, what they used to call the Fertile Crescent. It's a fucking dust bowl in the desert, because that's what the people who lived there chose to do. That's what they chose to bequeath to their descendants. I have very little sympathy for any of the bastards who live there, who covet or possess or pay for anybody else to possess a weapon of defence. If you own a fucking weapon to defend yourself from whatever you think your God theory can't deal with, you are the problem, you piece of shit. You are the problem. If you've got a weapon to defend yourself against everything you can imagine that your God theory is going to be powerless against, you are the problem. You're not a warrior. That's a fucking misspelling. Take the A out. Stick an I in there and replace the A with an O. You're a warrior. Professionally paranoid. Military intelligence. Psychopathic paranoia. Murderously psychopathic paranoia. Everybody who goes to war, what are you fighting for? Oh, I'm fighting because I love my country. I love my family. I love my nation. I love my state. Love, 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 love. Why do you think your enemies are fighting? Oh, they're only fighting because they fucking hate us and want to exterminate us. Ask any fucking Israeli, ask any Zionist, ask any fucking Palestinian, ask anybody in Hamas or Hezbollah. Those are the answers every fucking one of them is going to give you. And you know what? My God theory says them all is fucking compost on the hoof. They're about as useful as a knob of goat shit is to the compost heap. They will rot down and food plants will grow in what's left afterwards. Because they're not interested in changing. This is what they've chosen to do. This is their choice. This is their choice. Not one of them's prepared to turn the other cheek. Every one of them wants to judge their fellow human. Every one of them is out there seeking vengeance. They want to kill. They want to occupy. They want to invade. They want to fucking take other people's shit. And the people in Hamas, as far as they're concerned, they've been living in a concentration camp for 76 years, and they would rather die provoking Israel to demonstrate their true self, their true nature in front of the rest of the world, in the hope that the rest of the world stops supporting Israel. That's all Hamas is trying to do. They figure it doesn't matter how many of their civilians get killed, as long as they can fucking irritate the shit out of Israel, so Israel is prepared to go out there on camera and bomb women and children, babies, hospitals. Then Hamas figures they've done their job. They're line-bred fucking kamikazes, and Israel line-bred them to be that way. This is Netanyahu's doing. Netanyahu knew this was coming a year ago, and he took the Israeli army away from the fucking Gazan border so he could pander to his Orthodox Jewish supporters. The people who want to grow long curly locks on either side of their hair and sit there fucking rocking all day while they read the Torah, having 27 children and never fucking working, never producing anything, never going in the army, never doing anything worthwhile in their whole fucking life except read the Torah and study what God said 5,000 years ago according to the ancestral tradition. Right? They're like fucking monkeys raised with a wire cage instead of a mother. They rock to try and fucking comfort themselves because they know their life is totally fucking meaningless. Toranic scholars, Orthodox fucking Jews, all because they're so certain that God's on their side. I have nothing but contempt for the whole fucking lot of them. I don't hate them. It's just I am contemptuous and disdainful and disparaging of their entire method of thought, their worldview. It's all just fucking wrong. And right now, at the moment, 2% of Australia's citizens are Aborigines and Torres Strait Islanders. 60% of Australia's prison population are Torres Strait Islanders and Aborigines. They've been found guilty of surviving having been colonised. Right? Some fucking land-hungry arsehole from the other side of the world came here and they emptied their colon, which is a long muscly tube with a mucous membrane lining filled full of shit. They emptied their colon all over everything they failed to understand. Australia's Aborigines are the third worst treated colonised population on the planet. The second worst treated colonised population on the planet are the Uyghurs in China, because 60% of them are in jail, in a concentration camp or a re-education camp, for the sake of fucking national patriotic conformity. Because prissy dunce Xi Jinping has a tiny little cock and he's insecure, and his overcompensated inferiority complex is expressed by projected self-hatred of anything that's not just like him. Because he grew up in a fucking re-education camp because his father was a bloody arrested rebel during the Great Revolution. Yeah, Mao did it. Cultural Revolution, that was the one. Yeah. So that's the second worst treated colonised population. In Israel, 100% of the Palestinians live either in a concentration camp or under a military occupation. Israel treats its colonised indigenous people worse than every other mob of colonisers on the planet. It's going to be fucking fascinating to see what the creator God theory of the whole universe, who cares about every bloody species, every tribe on every planet around every sun you can go and look at in the night sky, is going to think up as just desserts for that mob of fucking dispossessed goat herders who've been making a fucking nuisance of himself on the shores of the Mediterranean for about 5,000 years. That's how long Jewish people have been irritating their fucking neighbours. I don't know why they want to do it. Why don't they just accept their own God theory and stop charging interest on loans? Stop paying interest on loans. Live according to your own fucking God theory and stop being assholes. It's not that hard. Truly, it's not that hard. And it fucking works for me. So why won't it work for you? Because you don't fucking want to try it. You haven't got the guts. Pathetic, pusillanimous piss ants. Very difficult to think well of humanity at the moment. The troughs are great. The snakes are great. I'm waiting for a heat wave and hoping not to get cooked. But, such is life. We voted for this. I burnt that fucking fuel 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Every time I bought a litre of fuel and put it in my car, I thought what I was doing was justified. When I see we've got 41 degrees at fucking Alice Springs in December, and I'm expected to get 36 or 38 this week, maybe not so much. Maybe I should have listened to the science 25 years ago instead of trying to convince everybody else to listen to the science. I should have turned my fucking back on them all and just gone and tried to, keep the wild native parsnips and the Burralong frogs alive. Because building civilization is a fucking waste of time. What matters now is trying to conserve as much of the biosphere as is possible before the shit hits the fan and humanity goes through the genetic bottleneck. Just fucking think about it. How many people out of the 10,000 in the municipality and Shire of Glens, how many people could feed themselves with gravity-fed rainwater into the vegetable garden for a year and still have a vegetable garden? I used to know of one out of the 10,000 of us, but he got burnt out in a bushfire in 2019. Don't know how he's gone at rebuilding it. Let's just assume that there's one person like that in every shire. Assuming that they survive the coming grid flatting event, because, no 47 boatloads of transport fuel, no coal trains, no bulldozers, no coal into the power stations, no grid, no fuel bowsers, no police, no fire brigade, no ambulance, no trucks resupplying supermarkets. No, civilization stops about 25 days after the last boat shows up in Australia. It's going to be interesting to watch. And you know what? They gave me new fucking teeth about 10, 12 days ago. They're kind of sort of more or less functional, like if I use enough Polydent, they stay in place and they don't hurt too bad. So pass the popcorn, eh? We live in interesting times, and I wouldn't be dead for quids. For you youngsters who don't remember 1966, a quid was what we used to call a pound, which is what Australia used to use before we got dollars. And a pound or a quid was roughly $2. I wouldn't be dead for quids. That's why I got my head cooked last year. so I could stick around and see what sort of a fucking mess all those 8 billion dickheads are going to make of the planet that I like to live on. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Okay, ciao. Somebody has to keep tabs on the fuckers.